Welcome back, folks. So I've been onto the 9.17 test server and I played around with the high tier Swedish TDs a lot more than the Kranvon. And I could tell you this right off the bat, this is going to be one of the most complex and yet the most difficult mechanic in the game. So the new siege mode mechanics for the hydro-pneumatic suspension of the high tier Swedish TDs is going to be one of the hardest skill to master. It's even more tough than mastering a light tank or mastering how to play autoloaders. So it does require you to understand all the maps fully and understand all the irregularities and the cover of the different maps, as well as the terrain, like where are the hills, where are the covers or the water. So that's very important. Also, it requires you to understand the complexity of team comp, so team composition, as well as how the different people of different teams are moving about, the dynamic changes of the teams on the map. So playing with these vehicles requires you to understand light tanks, understand medium tanks, and even to some degree understand artillery, because you need to understand where are the hills for you to utilize your gun depression. So playing this tank destroyer or these tank destroyer with the siege mode mechanics is going to be one of the toughest, challenging, and thought-provoking vehicle class in the game. And I'm pretty excited because it's actually spicier than playing something stupid like the Kranvon. Oh, gun depression, oh damn, oh, beat the game. Boring. But yeah, siege mode mechanic, it's fun. So let's talk about the difference between the initial overview made by Wargaming to the current version on the test server. So here is the original conclusion from the overview video that I analyzed to every little detail. So there are a few changes and let's cover them. So you still press the X key, which is the hull lock, to change from siege mode to travel mode and back and forth. So that's true. But you can no longer cancel out of the switching process. So they take this off, this option, this feature off. So that's very important. So what this means is you have to be fully committed or know where you're going and understand when you are about to deploy. So you cannot just cancel out of the progress or process and run away. So it makes your decisions a lot more impactful. For example, if you're about to head off and you see this isolated, say, Tiger 2, and you're about to go kill him, so you're going to press the siege mode, the switching of the siege mode to deploy, but you suddenly realize that there's a bat chat right next to you, flanking you. So he came out of nowhere and he just appeared on your radio. So when you already press the switching into the siege mode, you cannot cancel out of. You have to wait 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds to switch into the siege mode before you can press the siege mode key, the hull lock key again, to switch back into the travel mode. And by that time, it will be 4.5 seconds that has passed. And the bat chat probably already emptied like 3 rounds into you, or 2 rounds into you, before you could make any movements. So that's huge. But you can no longer cancel out of the switching. And yeah, you have to be very sure that you want to deploy at that exact location without any immediate threats to your vehicle. So decision making is a lot more important, but it takes 2 seconds at best now. So it's not 1 to 2 seconds. So it's either 2 seconds or 2.5, but we'll talk about this right now or later afterwards. Cruise skills and other conditions does not affect the time needed to switch. So originally it was 3 seconds for the STRV-103B, and it was different for another video showcasing that it was 2.5. So conflicting of the time, and I thought it was going to be like alterations of the cruise skills and other stuff, but nope, it's not. So does not affect the amount of time needed to switch. Switching modes will not turn off binoculars. So this will So this is completely untrue. So this is false. If you already have your binos and your camouflage net active, they will stay active when you're switching. So that's good. So yep, this is true. It does not turn off when you're elevating or depressing or traversing the hull in siege mode. So I don't know if it's it's not for the regular mode. It will still turn off in regular mode if you're traversing back and forth. So be aware of that. I don't know if moving, it turns off if you move back and forth. So it will turn off. Yep, siege mode will turn off if you move back and forth. Traversing the hull immediately after switching into siege mode does not start activating the binos or camouflage net. So you still have to wait the vehicle to come to a full stop to start with the acting or the activation of the camouflage nets and the binoculars. And the time needed to switch does not overlap the time needed to activate these equipments. So for example, it takes 3 seconds for the binos or camouflage nets to activate. It takes 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds for you to switch into the mode. So these times do not overlap each other. So you cannot take full benefit of activating your camouflage net or binoculars while you're switching. So that does not work. Whoops. Also, different modes have different stats. So initially I thought that the accuracy stayed the same with the different modes. The only change is the aim time and the DPM. But it turns out you get a lot better accuracy. Nobody mentioned that before. None whatsoever. But holy crap, the difference is dramatic. This makes the STRV 1030 a whole lot better because initially it has 0.4 accuracy for the travel mode on the 105mm, but in the siege mode it's like 0.1 or something, but it's super accurate. So holy crap. So yeah, different modes have different stats. You still could move in the siege mode, but it's 5 kilometers per hour for the UDES, it's 3 for the 0 series, and it's 5 for the B series. So it's different. Aim circle does change, but not that much. It changes like a millimeter on your screen, so it's super small, but it's not the same. Aim time is also different, but it's like 0.2 seconds of aim time in siege mode. So there's still a hair of difference, but it still does apply. So it's not just point and click, but it's pretty close. It's nearly point and click, but you still have to aim slightly, like a millisecond of aiming. Alright, it's still fine. And the lowering and raising of the hull with the hydrodynamic suspension is not instantaneous, so you still have to wait and point upwards to elevate or depress your hull. Also, yeah, this advertisement or this showcase of the STRV 103B with about 3 seconds or 3.5 seconds of reload, that's just a advertisement, a showcase. This is false, so you do not get like 3.5 seconds of reload. Otherwise it would be like, I don't know, 8,000 DPM. So 20, so let's count as 3 seconds. 3 times 4, yeah, that's, holy crap, that's like 8,000 DPM, 9,000 DPM. That's impossible. It's insane. You fire at the same rate as American 76mm. Jesus Christ. So here are the actual stats tested from me on the test server. So pressing the hull lock will switch. That's true. But you cannot cancel in and out of the switching. So when you're committed, you're committed. You cannot cancel out. Stay true, right? Also, switching time is different. So UDES has 2 seconds and STRV 103 has 2.5 seconds. The B series, the 0 series, has 2.5 seconds, but the B series has different. So it takes longer to switch into the siege mode, but faster to switch out of. So you can run away faster, but that's good. Also, camo nets and binoculars will remain active when you're pressing the switch button. So if they're already active, they will stay active. If they're not active, then the overlapping of the siege mode time does not account for the time needed for the equipments. So we already talked about this, but yeah. Equipment will remain active in siege mode during traversing and elevating, so that's given, blah blah blah. And these equipments will deactivate if you move the hull forwards and backwards in siege mode. So, same old stuff. And siege mode will not lock vehicles into terrains. So basically, if you're pressing your siege mode on a slope or cliff side, you will fall down into the ravine at the bottom. So it does not lock your vehicle directly into the place. Unlike a dozer blade digging into the ground, does not work like that. So you will fall off into the ravine and destroy yourself. So be careful about switching to the siege mode. Also, you cannot press the cancel button because there's no cancel button. So if you mispress the button on a cliff side, you're dead. Funny. Also, siege mode will improve your accuracy, aim time, and rate of fire. There are the stats. So it does seem to be near perfect with all the shots that I made. So super accurate. Aim time seems to be like 0.2 seconds. So there's still a hair of difference. Aim circle is still a little bit different, but mostly fully aimed. And here you can see the DPM difference between the siege mode and the travel mode. So yeah, the B series has 4,240 DPM in siege mode with the gun rammer. And that's not including like food or vents or brothers in arms. But still, holy crap. That's a lot. That's better than the tortoise. So this thing will rip you apart if you stay in the open and if you stay still, or if he tracks you, for all that matter. So once you see a STRV 103B detracking you, you better pray that you have a repair kit to fix the track. Otherwise, you're perma-stuck. You're perma-tracked there. And he's going to constantly shoot at the road wheels to constantly detract you while chipping away at your health. So, scary. But here are the top speeds for the siege mode, so not that fast. Vehicle traverse also seems slower because the diesel engine is only in play, whereas in the travel mode, both the diesel engine and the turbine engine comes into play, but that's historical values and stuff, whatever. Also, the vehicle's elevating and depressing angles are not instantaneous, so that's given. But I have a few clips of my time testing the siege mode, so enjoy. And here is the one and only thing that you absolutely must not do in these high-tier Swedish tank destroyers, and that is go looking for a fight, go looking for a target. So here you can see we have an isolated IS-7 on the opponent's team. He is base rushing, alright, but we haven't flanked. But it takes too long for me to switch into siege mode and back to get readjusting to the target. So, yep, readjust again, and by this time he's already flanked by the medium and the batchat artillery. So here you can see I'm taking hits from artillery and I got detracked. So you have to fix your tracks pretty quickly, otherwise you get nuked. So the main reason that I failed super hard right there is I did not play to the purpose of the vehicle, which is to camp base or camp a bush. You're go looking for a fight, and this vehicle was not designed to assault on targets like a assault gun like the ISU or the Ferdinand or the Yak Tiger. Its purpose is not that. Its purpose is to camp a hill or camp a bush to the maximum limits of just being annoying on the hill, and they have to pry you out of your camping position. So here is what you should do when you're playing these vehicles. So playing tier 10 with the B version of the S tank. So this vehicle is fast relatively, but it's not as crazy as a light tank, so still be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. So top speed is only 50 kilometers per hour. It's not like 60 or 70. Be careful. So famous camping position on Erlenberg. Everybody goes here, obviously. And we do have the gun depression based on the suspension to work the hill. We have a grill 15 and a batchat. But we have a more accurate, well, I don't even know. It should be a little bit more accurate than the accurate 150 on the Grill 15. Who knows, but holy crap. It's instantaneous to aim. We don't have his alpha though, but whatever. Missed the shot, so many targets. Oh well. Uh-oh. FE25B. I got his Drax. Now he is permatracked, so he thought, yeah, I'm getting out of here. Not gonna let you permatrack me, so smart idea. Here's object 140. He's dead. The DPM is crazy, but you need to have eyes. You need to have decoys to get the attention of your opponents while you're camping in the back, sniping and picking off targets. Otherwise, you'll be chewed out. You'll be focused on. And artillery hurts this thing like crazy. It has only 40mm of armor. Getting hit by a 200mm plus high explosive shell means you're toast. So don't get hit. But still camp in the back. Let your teammates spot for you. And that's what you do. You pump out all the shots. So I took a quick look. There's a Kranvon. Turret is super strong, but side of the turret is weak. And accuracy, amazing. So take that. Alright, we're getting flanked. So I'm switching back. There's still a little bit hull down position. Shoot the lower plate. The accuracy is amazing. Yep. He doesn't have the accuracy, unlike mine. But he still pull off the shot. It's fine. He doesn't have my DPM. And he has to aim in the open, where I'm hull down behind somewhat of a hill. So I thought the bat chat would come for me. And now I'm moving away. So one of the most important skill you have to realize that you need for this vehicle is map awareness. So I saw the bat chat coming for me, and he has the speed and traverse and the auto-loading clip to kill me in like 3 shells. So I'm not going to keep around there for long. I'm going to move. And I'm going to hide behind these heavier tank destroyers, which are basically assault guns because they're armor and large alpha. So, yep, that chat is thinking about coming towards me. Already moved. So that's very important. Map awareness, team composition, and how to use your teammates to help you spot for your opponents. And then you pick them off with your preciseness of the gun and the DPM. So that's how you should play these S-Tank, but it's very difficult to judge when you should deploy or when you should not and move about. So, I mean, a lot of players complain that, ooh, S-Tank is so overpowered, blah blah blah. Well, depends. I mean, if you get chewed out by yourself, you don't have support of your teammates. And you die pretty quickly if you're by yourself. So you need to know when you should move, when you should deploy, and when you should have all your DPM or when you should run away. That's very important skill, similar to a light tank, similar to an autoloader. So it's shared on this vehicle, as well as when to move about. So yeah, it's like mixing a autoloader with a light tank and with a tank destroyer into one vehicle class. And sometimes you have some armor to bounce some shots. So that's also armor analysis or armor realization of the vehicle. And you can use it to help you bounce shots. But remember, everything is mashed into one vehicle. So you have to think about a lot of stuff when playing this thing. I like it. It's very challenging. It's a lot more fun to play with this vehicle and do well than play with something like the Kranvon or the T110E5 or I don't know, the IS-7, because those are just dumb vehicles. Heavy tanks are stupid. So yeah, it's exactly what you expect out of these siege mechanics. Super challenging. So I love it. It's thought-provoking also, but I did not do that well, in my honest opinion. Only like 3,000 damage, but hey, that's pretty good. Third. Alright. And there you go, folks. The new high-tier Swedish tank destroyers that comes with this new feature called the Siege Mode mechanic. So I believe that this new mechanic is going to be one of the toughest mechanics in the game. Probably the worst or hardest to learn because it requires a lot of map knowledge, a lot of the composition knowledge of different tanks on different teams, as well as the terrains and the covers and the irregularities like the rivers or the rocks. So yeah, holy crap. Understanding this vehicle is a combination of light tanks, medium tanks, and even to some degree artillery, because you have to think about hills and covers and irregularities of the terrain so you can judge where you should shoot and take the absolute best avenue of attack, because this vehicle excels at range combat. It does not perform well in close range combat. So it's not for city maps. Nope, this vehicle is almost useless in a city map unless you have some sort of cover or teammates to help you with your rear. But yeah, it's one of the toughest vehicles to play, and that's why it's so challenging and rewarding if you do well. So yeah, I like it. I really like it, but it is one of the most iconic vehicles in the world. So a lot of players will play with the Swedish tank destroyer line to get to this vehicle, but they're in for a shock because this new mechanic of aiming the gun is the hardest yet. So I love it because it's a lot more exciting, spicier than playing something stupid like the Cranbon. Oh my god, gun depression, gun turret armor, ooh. Whatever, dude, I already saw a lot of T110 E5s or Sherman EZ8. I already know how those mechanics work. Doesn't excite me. I mean, a monkey could do well in the T110 E5. So what? But if you do well in the S-Tank, then you are a god. Because it takes so much to analyze the battlefield and work around the different terrains and stuff, or your team composition. So, yeah, I have more respect out of a 1500 XP game of a S-Tank than 1500 XP game out of a Cranbon, because it takes a lot more out of you when you have to play with these siege mode mechanics. So it's like playing with a handicap, except the handicap also gives you 5,000, almost 5,000 DPM or 4,250 DPM. That's crazy. So I love it. But there you go, folks. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about the siege mode mechanics, and I highly recommend you checking out the test server before you actually spend XP or credits on the Swedish tank destroyers, because it's a pretty big investment. But if you already get bored with the game, if you already get bored with the meta, the T110 E5, the Object 140, the Grill 15, the boring whatever, you can play with this thing. And this thing is new. It's complex, it's challenging, it deserves respect if you do well in it. So I highly recommend it. But there you go, folks, the new siege mode mechanics. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.